Let's get started.
J.C. Sherbert. Woo! 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 Woo!
Gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go.
The electricity here in Columbia, well, has been buzzing loudly all weekend.
Passion of the crowd in Williams-Brice Stadium is second to none.
And the rave breaks out in Columbia.
It is good!
Gamecock fans, welcome home.
See how it goes, but we'll be ready to go.
It's time to root.
Let's go, Carolina! It's gone! Touchdown!
What a hit!
He baked it in!
Can you believe it?
Gamecocks have won this game!
Here are your hosts, J.C. Sherbert.
Watch him celebrate now.
Phil Molinex.
My wife doesn't like hanging around losers.
And Jamie Bradford.
I'm going to tell him, you look like you joined Duck Dynasty.
All right, greetings and good morning, and welcome aboard Inside the Gamecocks, the show, live from the Signorama Studios, the preferred sign partner of Gamecock Athletics, and very proudly presented, of course, by Express Sunrooms of Columbia. If you'd like to sit outdoors this spring and watch the Gamecocks play, certainly this fall when football rolls back around, make sure you've called those guys at Express Sunrooms right here in the Midlands of the great state of South Carolina. JC is back as promised. Phil is here always. Thing doesn't run without him. And I'm here as well. We're here until 1 o'clock this afternoon. And it is, of course, the official. I know that there's been 4 games already played in the first 4 of March Madness, but everybody pretty much looks at today as the official start of March Madness, and games will get underway here in just a little while. We'll still be on the air, but not for long. The very first game to tip will be at 12:15 on CBS, and that is 9th-seeded West Virginia and 8th-seeded Maryland from beautiful Birmingham, Alabama, where the Papa John's Bowl is no more because they ran out of pizza. In our program today, Chris Phillips with the Spurs Up Show. He will join us coming up here in less than a half hour. And in hour number 2, a dear friend and a great, great artist and an amazing ambassador, not only for the University of South Carolina, but the state of South Carolina, Mr. Patrick Davis, by way of Nashville, Tennessee. He's got some big shows coming up here within our state borders soon. He'll be in Camden. He'll be here in the Low Country next Friday. He'll be back for the spring game, the pre-game performance out there in Gamecock Park, and so on and so forth. So certainly looking forward to getting him in. Just a reminder that Signorama, as we mentioned, and as you all know, is the preferred sign partner of the Gamecocks, but that's because they're the best. And if you need anything in the sign industry, whether it's an actual sign in front of your business, maybe you're just going to make a 3130 sign to put in the front yard of your home, or anything in between, vehicle graphics and so on and so forth, Signorama.com, interior and exterior signs, banners, and more, handling design, production, install, and service. So, guys, we'll begin to watch. The Nana Sports chat box, of course, is open. It's already full of everybody, and we certainly appreciate all of you. I would venture a guess, Phil and JC, that I'd say 8 out of 10 people who have submitted a bracket, it'll all be over after today. It generally ends around 12 hours from now, about 11 o'clock on the first day. People are like, well, to the trash can it goes.
Well, last year I nailed the first day, and then I was like, "Oh man, this bracket could be special." And then the next day, it was like, "No, you're just like everybody else."
I've got 2 stories about this. First and foremost, if you still want to get in, Phil, do you have the link to the tournament channel for the show?
Phil,
some people, stick that in the Nana Sports chat box. We've already got, I think, about 60
group.
People signed up, and don't forget, and you get a prize pack, so you never know what that may have in it, and all that if you win. And then,
JC, because you've been filling my mailbox up with stuff. If anybody is able to get a hand on some of these stickers or these, like everybody out there does have like an old cooler that they just put stickers on, right? Because I've got like a nice cooler, and then I got another nice cooler.
Oh God, I'm such
and then I was about to say, okay. But then I've also got that one cooler that you're like, anytime you get a sticker, you gotta put it on there. So I've kind of become a sticker aficionado over the years. Like there's crappy stickers, and then there's good stickers. These are, I think, and I'm not just saying this because you're standing here with your, by the way, very well groomed hair today. I think these are the best stickers I've ever had. A matter of fact, you sent me so many, I had to put one on my golf cart. It looks so good. It shines in the sun. So
the holographic ones are pretty solid. So hey, look, if anybody wants to represent the show, Carolina Rise, Big Spur, whatever, you shoot me inside the Gamecocks at gmail.com. Shoot me your mailing address, and I'll put like stickers, with 4 or 5 stickers in the mail for you. Many of you have already done it, but so I'll definitely do that. By the way, the link is in the chat box to sign up on ESPN. Probably should have used CBS, considering
I thought about that too, but hey, we didn't create
Craig
it.
did it, so I mean, Craig can use whoever the hell he wants. So that's fine. I mean, I just appreciate him doing it. So we'll get and the stickers will be part of the prize pack if you win or whatever. But if you just want me to send you some stickers, if you're willing to represent, I will mail them out. We sell them for about $3 on InsideTheGamecocks.com, but I will for today. Whoever sends me their email, their mailing address to InsideTheGamecocks@gmail.com between now and the end of the show, because I got the Spurs Up show right after this, and then I got to go to the mailbox because I got to get to my March Madness tradition. I've got to turn in a rental car too, so I got all kinds of stuff to do this afternoon. But if you get it to me before then, let me know. My boy Jan texted me on my cell phone just now, so it's Jan's first in the dang sticker box. So let me know on that. Number 2, Phil mentioned being ahead the first day. So the first time my buddies and I went out to Vegas for the NCAA tournament, they have a parlay where if you hit 16 out of 16 and you bet $5, and this was against the spread, it wasn't money line, then you won $30,000.
There's no way.
Right, so
if you tell me you hit this, I'm gonna.
If you get 15 out of 16, you win $700. It's a $5 bet, right? So we get to the evening, and I'm like 11 for 11. Daddy's getting the Rain Man suite. Okay, they're putting Daddy in the Rain Man suite, right? And I lost 2 games. One was a late afternoon game. Missouri, as a 2 seed, lost to Jackson freaking State. No, I'm sorry, Norfolk State. They lost to Norfolk State as a 2. And so I'm still there, and all I have to have happen is for Duke in Greensboro to beat Marist. And Marist took down the Dukies. Unbelievable, baby. Mr. Krzyzewski went out. And that was, I think that was what, 20 – I think it was 2012. So, because we went out 2012, 2013. So this was 2012. And man, oh, man, oh, man. Look, I only lost $5 on the deal, but think about all the agony that I went through. Thinking about like that 30 grand at the time. I mean, I don't think I made but like 50. Like salary wise. I mean, we could have lived large because we had 2, 3, 4 more days. But that was my story about first round disappointment. Even though I was disappointed about that money, nothing turned me off worse in the first round than in '97 when Carolina lost to Coppin State. I almost expected it the next year against Richmond, because you don't mess with Richmond. John Beeline was coaching that team, by the way, at Richmond. Not a lot of people know that. But Coppin State, man, that destroyed me because that was just such a great basketball season, a breakthrough season. It was unreal. And then the only redeeming quality was my buddy and this girl was also, she ended up being in the friend zone, but at the time she maybe wasn't, said, "Hey, man, I'm going to St. Patrick's Day at 5 Points in Columbia tomorrow. You want to ride?" And I'd never been because I lived in Spartanburg at the time, right? I'd never been to the 5 Point celebration in Columbia. And so that's the only thing that helped me, because I think Carolina lost on a Friday, and we went down there that Saturday. And I remember the state newspaper had a picture of Bud Johnson on the bench with a towel over his head, and the headlines were "Madness and Sadness." Yeah, and I remember just thinking how sad that was. So that was probably my worst. I didn't even watch the rest of the tournament, the rest of the year. I think I watched the championship game with Kentucky and Arizona, but that was about it. That just sucks so bad because, I mean, Carolina probably could have. They would have probably beaten that Texas team in the next round, and probably played North Carolina in Greensboro. Oh, man. Well, always lose right before you're about to play the Tar Heels in the NCAA tournament, right?
Oh, jeez, yeah.
There's better days ahead, boys and girls. Better days ahead.
In men's basketball?
No, in women's basketball. We got. Oh
yeah.
That's right.
Tipping it off tomorrow.
The women do tip it off tomorrow.
I'm on the Dawn train now. Dawn is gonna. There you go. They're gonna win 5 or 6 straight national championships. I'm calling it today. That's it. There you go. There you go. We'll look up in 5 years, and they're going to have won every damn one of them. UConn who? UConn who?
UConn who?
That's those are going to be our new shirts for sale. UConn who? In garnet and black. Oh, by the way, we got to remind everybody, Phil, the winner of the bracket challenge this year wins $10,000. Whoever wins our bracket, they get a
$1 million.
$1 million.
The freaking bracket winner gets $1 million.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Craig said here in the award-winning Nana Sports chat box, me and my brother had Auburn a few years ago when they lost in the Final Four. We would have split $9,000. Good news. If you win this bracket challenge, Craig, you win $1,000 more, and you don't have to split it with your brother. $10,000. And
right there.
10. There it is.
There it is.
JC went to the bank this morning and took a picture, sent it to Phil, and we've got it. So
that's right.
This is going to be great, man. I can't wait.
I mean,
$10,000 richer.
And
we'll
look, I wasn't.
We'll Venmo you so you don't have to pay taxes.
Just Venmo it, yeah. I wasn't. 76 says JC laughing about men's basketball expresses my exact sentiment. I'm not. Look, I you guys know I kind of work with the NIL thing and stuff, and there's some light at the end of the tunnel there to a certain extent. That's been my primary concern. Now, if Lamont Paris ends up not being able to recruit when there's NIL money there, then you have a problem. But we'll see what happens. That's been kind of my down thing. That and the overall program too. And I'm not blaming the fans because we're at a point right now that, with the exception of one magical April or March, this program has eroded since the early Odom era, right? When we were all mad because they were winning NITs. The CLA had really good crowds during Dave and even the first year of Darren Horn. But you start thinking about how long of a drought any type of success at all in men's basketball has had. Even though Frank was winning, those teams – you go to the Final Four, you kind of expect to go back. Not to the Final Four necessarily, but to the big dance and be like, hey, Carolina's here. But it just didn't happen. And there's a whole, at the same time, the program was sinking to depths that we could have never imagined under Horn, who was a hire on the cheap. Everybody that wants to talk about Ray Tanner hiring somebody on the cheap, the one on the cheap hire anybody's ever made is Eric Hyman with Darren Horn. Now, I think he kind of split his budget up and got Don Staley the same year, and that's paid off, obviously. But, Horn kind of sunk it, and then it took Frank a while to get it back. During that same time, all those kids that were in school then, and many of them are look, it's baseball was winning national championships. Don started getting it going. Football was in its prime under Spurrier. Who cared about men's basketball? I mean, and whereas like when I was in school, it was kind of like, heck, you're, only about 20 years removed from being a powerhouse in the ACC. The whole issue for a long time was Carolina left a conference because that's very important in basketball. And then, they left the Metro, they get back in the SEC and they win it within 5 years. And they probably would have been successful had they not gotten rid of George Felton to begin with. And so whereas then and kind of in the Odom era and the Fogler era and all that, everybody still cared and it was a big deal and all that good stuff. But I think the other sports have just overshadowed the program. And there's been so much damn bad basketball, except for 1 month, one shining moment, as the song goes, that it's hard to get people in the stands. I mean, it's hard for people to I just don't know that there are very many, except for a handful of diehards, big time Carolina men's basketball. There's a lot of Carolina fans, but I think that, people want to know, what's the sign that, Carolina's been in the SEC for 30 years is that you have 500 people at a men's basketball game and 10,000 at a women's. Yeah. That's an SEC program for you, and you're selling out for baseball and football. So I guess that's the transition, from the ACC school to independent to Metro to, SEC. But for those like me that was a Carolina basketball fan before I understood football, it's a little disheartening. So, and Todd says with the mass exodus hitting the transfer portal I think it'll be a safe bet Lamont will be gone in the next 2 seasons. The guys that left, they weren't going to play. That's not a mass exodus just yet, Todd. Now,
yeah, that's
somebody else leaves, we'll see. But Minot, Benson, and the walk-on Ford Cooper leaving is not a. I mean, those are. I don't care who the coach was; those guys were probably out after this year. So,
well, I mean, I hate to say this because it sounds demeaning to all these young men, and I don't mean that at all. I really don't. But if you couldn't, get on the floor this year with a team that won 11 games, it was probably pretty bleak. You were going to get on the floor next year and any time going after that. And so, yeah, that was the young men that have elected to move on. That's best for everybody involved. It's best for them and their careers. It's best for South Carolina's basketball program. And we'll see what they do to piece it together. There's really, honestly, no reason to worry about it now, guys. I mean, everybody's in the middle of March Madness. There's dudes in the portal. Sure. There's going to be a lot more dudes in the portal once all this is wrapped up here in April. So,
hey,
there's a long ways to go on this deal.
Is Morehead State? They're not the Penguins, are that's Youngstown State.
No.
What is Morehead State's mascot?
The
Safari
the Bison?
I don't know.
No,
the
that's
Safari Hunters.
Eagles? Is it the Eagles?
Oh, I think Eagle is right. Hold on.
The Eagles, right?
State.
Yeah. Morehead State Eagles, I believe.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So yeah. But Ford Cooper sounds like a law firm. Yeah, it kind of does. And and maybe he will be an attorney one day. That would be fantastic for him. I know we got Chris coming up here in just a little bit, guys. Right. And I know we need to. So Phil, we're gonna take a late break. We'll have Chris, and then we'll take a final break after that. Correct? Just want to be sure before I move on here.
Yeah, that works for me.
Okay, so we got about 5 minutes or so in this segment. All right. So of the games that are being played today. In March Madness, no doubt there's two that are on everybody's radar, right? You got Furman and Virginia at 12:40 down in Orlando, and then you got the college in San Diego State and a classic 12:5 at 3:10 in Orlando on True TV. We know that we're going to be paying attention to those. By the way, everybody, we are aware of the conversation in the article about the guns in the young men for the football team. We are going to talk plenty about that today. Sure. But we just don't have enough time to finish that conversation right now. What else is on y'all's radar today in hoops?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, to add to my list of grievances, which I will bring up at Festivus this year, about the NCAA selection committee. Why in the hell do you put Charleston and Furman in the same bracket
on the same side? I know. Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, man, those are kind of, I'm like, okay, well, Carolina didn't make it, obviously. Never really had that much hope once they got swept by the mid-majors down in Charleston that would happen. But Charleston's a really good team. By the way, for those that didn't understand the Morehead State reference, they beat Clemson in the NIT and showed the Tigers the door, which they got to fix the NIT too. It should never be the mid-major invitational like it is. That sucks badly about it as well. But I digress. We'll talk about that some other time. Come on. I mean, I'm like, and not that they're sitting there going, well, let's make sure JC's happy, But I'm like, why would you put Furman, two South Carolina teams opposite each other in the same bracket? I just didn't like it at all because I kind of was hoping, because I think both of those teams have a shot. Furman's been knocking on the door for a long time. Bob Ritchie's a hell of a coach. It's a veteran team. They've pulled upsets over teams before. And then Charleston, to me, may even be low for a 12, I think. So I got Charleston and Furman advancing and playing in the second round. And Charleston to the Sweet 16.
To be fair, if it was about seeding and they're 12 and 13 seeds, the other 12 and 13 seeds are in Albany, New York. So yeah. I don't really, from that standpoint, I don't have a problem with it if they meet in the second round. That's amazing for this great state of South Carolina. But I would much rather than meet in the second round. I get it. Like, you don't want to – it'd be nice to have them separated to give, whatever it is. But But I also I do disagree a little bit, JC, because I'm much happier with them having a chance to play in the second round in Orlando than in Albany, New York.
Right.
So
You got to keep them separated. That's,
I'll tell you what, man. I know that everybody's been singing the praises of Tennessee, and I don't think they'll lose, but they better be pretty careful tonight with Louisiana. The Cajuns are pretty good, and I think that game might be a little bit closer than people are giving it credit for. I think that I think it's a huge disservice to this bracket that the 10-7 matchup that's going to tip at 10 o'clock tonight in Des Moines, Iowa, is A&M and Penn State. Two teams that got all the way to the finals of their conference tournament. And, I mean, look how hot Penn State has been. Look how good Buzz has had A&M playing, and one of them has to go home tonight. I thought A&M got shafted on the seeding anyways, so that's probably where the problem lies. I don't like that game. I like the game itself. I don't like it being played on day one.
Now some of your metrics lovers that love metrics, and that's fine if you do. If you love metrics and Ken Palm and all this other stuff, and that's kind of how you like to break that, fine. I mean, it's proven that those stats do mean something. But look, man, A&M, come on. I mean, using that. South Carolina was a what, a 2 in the 97 season that we talked about. They also started 6-5, and they lost to Charleston Southern and UNC Asheville at home. Okay, and to Clemson by 19 points. They only scored 39 points. I think they also lost by 23 to Virginia to open the season. That team, and look, that team's pretty good, right? And by the time it was all said and done, they were a 2. Using that logic that the net or whatever it is uses, because they count every game the same, even though they're playing college basketball way too early in front of dozens of fans when everybody cares about football. Using that logic, South Carolina would have been a 7 that year. Now, we all know now 7's a lucky number when they get seeded.
Yeah, they were a 7 in 2017, and they made it the Final Four. Could A&M be in a similar position here? Who knows?
I think Tennessee. I'm going to go ahead and say that's because every year there's one team that's pretty good all year. Then they go out early in the conference tournament, and you're kind of like, they lost some games here and there, But then they turn it on tournament time, and they come back. You're like, I didn't see that coming, And it's usually a really good team. And I think Rick Barnes' team this year, with their length, athleticism, and the way they play defense, that's a tough matchup. Although you'd think Rick Barnes, with the way they play all of his teams play defense, would be sort of like Frank Martin in the sense that he's pretty good in the tournament. Frank Martin's 9-4 in the tournament all time, right? You think that would be – Rick really has had trouble through the years getting out of the second round, Sweet 16. At Texas, that's why they let him go at Texas, because it was a lack of – he went to one Final Four, and that was it with all that talent. So maybe not, but I just have a feeling about it. I agree with Keith. In fairness to me, I had not talked to Keith before he said it Monday. I got Tennessee, Bama, Houston, and I think UCLA going to the Final Four.
Yeah, I
think that's my exact 4 too. Yeah,
is it really? I can't. I don't buy I'm not buying Tennessee. They don't have Zakai Ziegler. He's the heart and soul of the team, or one of the main pieces. And more than likely, they're going to see Duke in the second round, who just won the ACC championship. I think Duke's gotten hot at the right time. I don't see Tennessee advancing past. I don't think Tennessee gets to the Sweet 16.
Dude, that's me. I got him beating Duke.
I can't wait till you're paying me $10,000. God, I can't.
And I got Memphis.
Phil, I'll split
beating. I got Memphis going to the Sweet 16 and playing Tennessee. Memphis, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Michigan State. And then Michigan State will beat Kentucky because they're just probably better. And Tennessee will get a draw like Michigan State. Then they'll play Alabama, and all their fans will be so heartbroken because the Tide will get revenge. And then Bama will run into Houston, and the Cougars will win the national championship.
Oh.
Well, All right.
I got the Cougars winning too. I got them beating Tennessee. Yep. I really wanted UCLA though. I wanted to push that one a little farther, but I just couldn't quite do it. I don't think.
Yeah. Well, somebody's going to win $10,000. I hope it's me, but it might be somebody else. And at the end of the day, we're going to be happy for whoever pulls in JC's 10 and Graham. We do need to hit a timeout because Chris Phillips is coming up next. Remember, Patrick Davis will join us in hour 2. We'll see who he has picked to win this year's NCAA tournament as well. Painted garnet and black by a couple of painters inside the Gamecocks. The show will be right back. Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Just as your State Farm agent combines good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates, you can combine your home, auto, life, or small business insurance with Tony Pope State Farm Insurance today. And guess what you'll get? That's right, even more good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates. In fact, Tony Pope State Farm is your go-to agent anywhere in South Carolina, North Carolina, or Georgia for the service you deserve at the price you want. So try combining your home, life, auto, and or small business insurance today. Tony Pope State Farm has been in business for more than 30 years and can handle anything you need in the tri-state area. Once again, Tony Pope State Farm will help you mix and match perfectly. Call 843-851-2222 or visit TonyPope.com today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
The real estate market has changed dramatically from just a year ago. Rates, supply, demand, all of your traditional factors are in a transition phase. That's why if you or someone you know are considering making a move in the low country, contact me, JB, at Coast to Coast Realty. I work with an outstanding support cast of attorneys, lenders, inspectors, insurance agents, and more, all of whom are valuable in helping find a way for you to comfortably make your real estate decision. That's right. Call me, JB, your low country real estate broadcaster.
Traveling to cheer on the Gamecocks? Reserve your hotel stay with Fan Plans. Your booking supports inside the Gamecocks and the Big Spur, plus you still earn your hotel loyalty points. Visit fanplans.com/inside the Gamecocks.
What's up, Gamecock Nation? This is Jakar Moore from the DMV, and you are listening to the show.
Welcome back, everybody, to Inside the Gamecocks, the show, brought to you by Express Sunrooms of Columbia. 803-446-4662 is how to get in touch with John Barber and his team to set up a no-obligation consultation about how you can transform your backyard into a outdoor retreat. And of course, Cindy Searfoss sponsors the first hour of the show with the Coldwell Banker Kane Realty team here in the upstate. 864-414-5271 is how to get in touch with Cindy for all your upstate residential real estate needs. Got a dissertation going on in the private chat here. I got a little confused.
Oh.
I was like, hold on.
This is behind this little technical stuff I just thought about that I was like, God, I better let these guys know because I failed to tell you about it yesterday. And so my bad. Because as you all know, I will not be here next week.
And by the way, that does not mean don't tune in, just so everybody knows.
Nah, there'll be a full
matter of fact, next week we're going to have
everything.
Steve Spurrier will be on next week. Beamer will be on next week.
Lou Holtz
will be on next week.
Ray Tanner.
Ray Tanner. I'm missing somebody.
Will Ferrell.
Is it Will Ferrell?
Will Ferrell. Jadeveon Clowney.
Oh, Clowney. That's right.
That's right. It was Clowney.
The Bill Murray, even though he's a Clemson fan.
No, he's not a Clemson fan. Don't let them fool you. Don't let it.
Well, let's
fool you.
bring in Chris since he's in the chat. He's in the waiting area.
The chat box.
The chat box. I'm off today, man. Hell, I sent that link here to really let people behind the curtain.
Chris would find a way to get the video in the chat box, and we'd all be like, "How did he do that?
How did he figure this out?" Yeah, that's right.
The innovator in our market.
Don't worry. I sent the bracket link to the private chat earlier, y'all. So yeah, I'm off my game this morning.
By the way, congrats to my boy G.A. Mangus for being named the the offensive coordinator at Hammond. GA probably get him on the show here pretty soon. That is one guy we'll have on the show. Congratulations to him. He's a hell of a football coach, and I'm sure that offense in Hammond will look pretty good.
And he's a great dude too, man.
Super.
He's one of the ones when you text him, he actually texts you back. You know?
Yeah.
Some people it takes him 3 days. He's on it.
Oh yeah.
He's a good dude. Hey, Chris.
What's going on, guys? What's up? What's up? Hey, I was gonna say I'm not Will Ferrell or Steve Spurrier or Lou Holtz or any of those other guys, but I'm here and I'm excited. So what's going on? Appreciate y'all having me.
Who do you have in the Final Four?
I'll be honest with you, man. I have not even finished filling the bracket out yet, and the game starts in 30 minutes. So my Final Four is probably going to be just off the top of my head, and they may even all be on the same side. I barely looked at it. I'll probably go Alabama, UCLA, Houston, and I don't know. Just name your fourth. I don't really know. I feel like picking Bama to win it all is too easy, though. I really do. That to me just feels way too easy. So I got to be honest with you guys. I'm so locked in on the Gamecocks at times that I don't tune into as much sports as people probably think I do. I'm excited to see how Furman and CFC do, but I haven't even finished filling out my bracket. That's shame on me, honestly.
I watched very little college basketball this year outside of South Carolina, and or like if it's a Tuesday night and the fiance drags me to bingo, right? I'm not going to sit there and gamble on bingo. So
here's what I'm actually going to go with, guys. My bracket every year is busted by Saturday, so I'm waiting till the very last minute. Going to go. Just fill it out randomly and just see what happens. And I bet you I'll have my best bracket I've had in like 5 or 6 years. So that's what I'm going with.
That's the key. Man. Don't overthink it. Just go.
just like go.
Favorite colors.
Yes. Which mascot do you like better? You know, I literally had somebody tell me I had my buddy's girlfriend say, I think it's Colgate, Texas in the first round. And she was like, I'm picking Colgate because of the toothpaste. And her boyfriend was like, oh, that's ridiculous. But Texas, I was like, but I bet you that logic right there will win. That logic will win versus the people that actually know college basketball. That's how the bracket works. So
I've known many of winning brackets where favorite colors were just the pick.
Oh yeah,
and they would even have like a 16 over a 1, but it just worked out to where like the 8 would win and all that good stuff. So
the one like generally people like you just said is people overthink it. And because they get caught in the upsets. Like I've got to pick the upsets. And there's always upsets, but people go overboard with it. And then their bracket gets torn up by late Thursday night, early Friday. So I generally stay chalk except for maybe 1 or 2. And then this year I went with Iona. It's just hard for me to go against Patino.
What is it? 5 years in a row, I think the number 1 seeds won it all, or a 1 seed has won it all, I should say. So I mean, it's one of those things like you mentioned, JB, that if you look at the bracket over time, that you always have kind of that Cinderella and upsets do happen. But when we get to the end, we get to the Elite Eight, Final Four, like the best teams are there most of the time. Obviously sometimes, but most of the times it is the best teams that are there. So.
Yeah, I've got Purdue winning it all. The guy, their center's 9 feet tall. I mean, like all you got to do is throw the ball to him. I mean,
I got Purdue going bye in the second round against Memphis. I'm just
JC,
one of these days they're going to stop putting all these Big Ten teams into the NCAA tournament. Now, that particular conference, they figured out the Ken Palm thing and all that stuff. But man, oh man, there's a very good I don't know. Anyway, we could debate that way.
Who do you have winning it all, JC? Who do you have winning it all?
University of Houston.
Oh, you're not going to win your own $10,000 back. This is ridiculous. You're going to
get which SEC team do we think is going the farthest? Is it Alabama? Is it that easy? Or
I got Tennessee beating Bama in the Final Four.
What?
Wow, that would be a crazy matchup. Oh, that would be wild. That would be wild.
No.
I need that just for Twitter. Just for Twitter, man.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I don't know. The more days that go along here, I've got Bama going to the Final Four just because they're good enough to be there.
Yeah.
But by the time that the Final Four actually gets here, they might not have any players left. I mean, every time a new article comes out of Tuscaloosa, there's another dude in the car. Like I don't. How much is left unpacking this thing over there?
Yeah, and they might be saving something for down the road. It's like, oh, you're in the Elite Eight now. Like, oh, here's this new thing that just came.
The sports gods aren't going to let Alabama win the basketball national championship.
Breaking news, Nate. Not to make light of this thing, somebody's dead. I mean, but breaking news. Nate Oates drove his players to the Strip at 2 a.m. You're like,
wow.
That video couldn't have been out a month ago. Okay,
wrong place, wrong time.
Well,
indeed.
Do you want to talk about the Gamecocks, Chris, or should we just continue?
I mean, hey, I'm just rolling with the punches, man. Whatever y'all want to discuss, it's kind of that time of year. So
let's get to Georgia and South Carolina, whom, by the way, is not going to play tomorrow. It's going to be pouring all day in Athens. They'll probably announce that later on today, I'm sure. But so. All right, Chris. So you're a baseball guy. I'm a baseball guy. These guys they like baseball. What's happening right now is that people are looking at 17-1. They're seeing the ranking. They're seeing all the other SEC teams ranked, and they're discounting the Georgia Bulldogs. And that is a bad move because – number one, everybody wants to talk about Ethan Petrie, and they should. But Charlie Condon at Georgia is hitting .530 on the season, and he is a freshman. Their two middle of the order guys are outstanding. They're going to throw their best arm on game 2. This is a challenge, and I'm not. People get mad when you do stuff like this, Chris, and you know it. I'm not trying to prepare the world for bad news. That's not what I'm saying here. I think Carolina will win 2 games this weekend. However, if they don't, it's not over. There's a long ways to go here. So I just wanted to kind of prep this conversation because the Bulldogs are good. They're playing well, and that's a difficult place to go play. And it's going to be cold as hell this weekend.
Yeah, JB, I'm with you. I've got the Gamecocks winning 2 of 3. But like you mentioned, all you got to do is look back at South Carolina last year. I mean, Carolina wasn't very good, and they were still able to beat the likes of Texas, Vanderbilt, Ole Miss, right? It was a team that was able to bite you in SEC play. And that's just generally how the SEC works, right? The conference is so deep, and the top-end talent will give you a chance to win every single weekend. And I think, JB and guys, that's the case with Georgia as well. I mean, you talk about Liam Sullivan, he'll throw in game 2. He's 3-0 with a 0.44 ERA. Jaden Woods in the game 1 slot, by the way, he's pretty damn good too. Back-to-back lefties, which I think will be really interesting, right? South Carolina, Mark Kingston talked about in the preseason that they have more depth in regards to the sticks they'll throw out there. They like their left-handed bats, but I just kind of wonder what the chess match is like in regards to throwing out your left-handed hitters versus those left-handed pitchers. I think for South Carolina offensively, JB, just continuing to be patient at the plate. Georgia, if you look at their bullpen, they're a little bit susceptible. I don't think they have quite the pitching depth that South Carolina will feature. So I think in that game 1, right, it goes without saying it's a key every weekend. But if you can knock Jaden Woods out of there by the 3rd or 4th inning, get into that bullpen and make them tax that pin, it's going to give you a great advantage going throughout the rest of the weekend. But and then you mentioned Charlie Condon and what he's done, 531, 8 homers, 34 RBI. They're hitting 337 as a team. I mean, they're tearing the cover off of the baseball. Now, granted, have they seen a weekend rotation or seen arms like South Carolina's? Not necessarily, but I'm just so excited, guys, to see what this Gamecocks ball club is all about. And again, like you mentioned, JB, this is just one weekend of 30 games. It's truly a marathon, not a sprint. You want to get off on the right foot, but I will say this again. I see Georgia as one of those teams. D1baseball.com did not have them as one of their regional teams in the preseason in the SEC. They're obviously not ranked. They're not the upper echelon like a LSU, a Tennessee, a Florida, what have you. But Georgia's a very solid ball club, and going to Foley Field, it will be a battle for all 3 games, and I think it'll be a great series. And, you go on the road and you take 2 of 3 in the SEC, I don't care who you're playing, that's a victory. I was asked yesterday, would winning 2 of 3 be good, or do we need to sweep? I'm like, do not get it twisted. If you're winning series, you're winning SEC series, you've accomplished your goal. That's a great weekend, especially on the road. I don't care who the opponent is. So, yeah, JB and guys, I think it's going to be a great weekend of baseball. And like you mentioned, probably not going to play tomorrow. We'll probably have that doubleheader on Saturday, which will be a really interesting dynamic. But, Georgia's got some guys, man. Again, you look at the lineup, the way they're swinging it. And, if all it takes is one dude, either a Sullivan, a Woods, maybe even a Nolan Crisp on Sunday, all it takes is one guy to shove, and all of a sudden you're staring down the barrel of being down 1-0 or being in a 1-1 situation going to the final game, and they'll have the home field advantage. So it's going to be a great weekend of baseball, man. I'm so excited for SEC play.
Well, and you mentioned Georgia's batting average. Carolina leads the country in home runs with 48. The Dogs have hit 41. There's 89 combined home runs coming into this game between these two teams.
And they put it up against good teams. I mean, Wofford has a pretty good baseball team this year. They scored 10
Georgia
in
Tech.
a midweek win. Georgia Tech, they had 16, had 18 and 15 against Charleston Southern, 17 against Georgia Southern. It seems in some of these game threes that the bats tend to go quiet, just kind of looking at their results. But most games in all their 3-game series, they're scoring runs and hitting the ball in at least 2 of those games. So probably going to be pretty good. I mean, it's all Foley Field's always a challenge. Gamecocks went down there and lost a super regional one time when they hit 6 home runs in a row. But I'm looking forward to Saturday and seeing, almost 6, 5 or whatever. But
Paxton just didn't have enough juice to get it out of there. Damn weak ass catcher. No, I'm kidding.
But it was.
To your point. I mean, the greatest coach in the history of this program, his name is Ray Tanner, and he lived by the saying, just don't get swept on the road. If you win it, it's gravy. Just don't get swept on the road. People hear that and they're like, man, boy, these guys sure are downers. No, this is a hard league. Chris, 7 of 69. Do you know what that number is? 7 for 69?
I do not, admittedly.
Anybody that has been in the leadoff role this year for Carolina, they're hitting 101 collectively, and Caleb Denny is now a combined 1 for 26 since he's been there. They got to get that thing going, man. 23 strikeouts in those 69 ABs as well.
Yeah, you're putting yourself behind the 8 ball when you have those type of numbers at the leadoff spot. I mean, you got different options. I mean, I think that's the one. Maybe you talk about holes in the lineup, right? And if we're really nitpicking, I think that's certainly one for these guys. I don't know that you really have that true leadoff hitter, which is why you've seen them try out some different guys. I mean, do you slide a guy like a Braylon Wimmer there? It's a shame that Evan Stone hasn't swung it better, because I feel like with his speed, he could be sort of that prototypical guy. With the way Dylan Brewer's all of a sudden swinging it, do you give him a look? I mean, I think you got capable options, but you don't really have that true leadoff guy, if you will. But that's a crazy number, man. That's a crazy number, and hopefully something you get figured out for sure. I mean, you're going to need him.
Yeah, I mean, let me expand on this a little bit, because people go, well, you technically only lead off once a game. I hear you. My point is, these are all really good hitters. When they're anywhere else in the lineup, they're fine, but they're not good hitters. So you're taking a great hitter. Denny was hitting 3rd. I mean, McGillis probably should be 6 or 7, right? Horning, all these guys, when you put them in the lineup anywhere else, they're giving you what you need to get out of them. But then when you put them in the leadoff spot, seemingly you're wasting 4 or 5 at bats a game out of one of your best hitters. So I don't know what the answer is, but
I think somebody's just got to take the bull by the horns, man, and just accept that role and embrace that role, right? Embrace that role. I mean, if you can be a good hitter in the 3-4 spot or the 5-6 or the 7-8, whatever, you can do it in the number 1. I mean, it's a little bit of a mentality shift, obviously, especially when you're starting off the game. But I mean, somebody leads off every inning, JB, right? I mean, you take that mentality all throughout the game as well. So yeah, I mean, I think it's probably just one of those trends or one of those interesting stats right now. But, I would just like to see somebody, again, take the bull by the horns and be that leadoff guy, and sort of who wants to be the tone setter for South Carolina baseball when we get this thing going each and every single day. I think there's guys that are more than capable. So I think it's just, matter of time that they'll get it rolling there. But, swinging the sticks for sure this weekend, man, up and down that lineup going to be huge. And, I think the big question, guys, going into SEC play, and I think this lineup has much more staying power than like the 2021 lineup did, where that one, they were good, but it really felt feast or famine, home run or nothing. I think this lineup's more well-rounded, but they still do rely on the home run ball a lot. You know what I mean? So I'm really excited to see, when South Carolina needs to win a game 3-2, 4-3, Can they do it? You know what I mean? Can they get a guy in from third with less than 2 outs? You know, can they situational hit? Can they execute a hit and run? Can they use their speed on the base pass, if you will, and grind out a victory, right? Because you're going to have to grind out wins, especially like you're mentioning, JB, you go on the road. If you're going to take 2 of 3, you're going to have to grind out victories. It's just going to happen. So I like the fact that South Carolina's played some close ball games early. They've won some one-run ball games. They've had to come from behind and win. And, you know, I think that's something that'll definitely help them going into this weekend and beyond.
I think we need to get Coach Kingston into his best impersonation of Jake Taylor, and he needs to find his Roger Dorn. Dorn, get in there and take one for the team. What? I'm the leadoff guy. That's right.
Dude.
Stand on the plate.
Dude, the way we're getting plunked by pitches, I mean, why not? Why not, man? The Scott Wingo effect.
Man, it's nuts what's going on out there. How about football? Not much to discuss, as far, but
I'm excited for it, man. I mean, we talked a little bit of top position battles to just keep an eye on. I mean, really, what we're trying to do, I feel like, guys, with spring ball is read between the lines. You know what coaches are saying, what players are saying, but you know, I thought it was intriguing hearing Dowell Loggins yesterday talk about the running back position. Also, love what he had to say. We posted the quote this morning about Nicholas Harbor and just kind of like you know, we talk about it all the time, but you get 1 5-star, then you get another, and it's this snowball effect. And he mentioned that. I mean, I just think it's true, right? Great players want to play with great players. But, you know, obviously the thing you hope for, fingers crossed, nobody gets injured. I mean, that's the big thing. Just navigate through spring ball healthy. How much are we really going to learn? I don't know. But I feel like listening to Beamer, you know, if anybody was questioning, is South Carolina going to be active in the portal, I think the answer is a resounding yes. Running back, edge. There's obviously holes. There's gaps they need to fill. I was asked a couple of days ago, you know, who do you think is going to be the starting running back coming out of spring? I said, I don't really think it matters. I don't think our starting running back is probably on the roster at this point, if I had to guess. No disrespect to the guys on the roster, but I just think realistically they're going to go pick up a guy or two to help. So, you know, anyways, like you mentioned, JB, there's not a ton to discuss. I feel like spring ball, admittedly, it's almost more of a layup for us to just kind of reopen the conversation of football and just hit on some things that we want to discuss. But are we actually going to learn anything from spring? But it'll be interesting to follow along, hear what the guys have to say. And, you know, maybe some names stand out that, you know, we haven't heard in a while or we're not expecting. And, you know, you can try to learn some things here and there. And obviously the spring game on the 15th, we'll all be excited to kind of see who flashes or what have you. But I thought it was funny, too. Dowell Loggins asked, I think he was asked yesterday about the quarterback spot. And he's like, Spencer Rattler's our starting quarterback. It's like, breaking news. Rattler's the starter. So not much drama there.
I think there's a linchpin guy, I think, that I'm kind of, I guess, hopeful for. Because I think if he can kind of return to form or, you know, at least look better than he has and stay healthy, is Terrell Dawkins. If Terrell Dawkins is healthy, all right, you know what you got in Jordan Strawn. He's going to come back. And if people think about it, people come back from injuries the same or sometimes better more times than not. Some guys don't, so you got to keep that in mind. Then you got Umi Azulu, who I think is going to be ready to play, not start, but play. And if you get something out of Tyreek Johnson, you know, Rames may come back, may not. You know, that gives you 4. Okay, so then Brian Thomas Jr. played a lot in spot duty last year. I guess Donovan Westmoreland will too. I mean, those are the little guys, so you don't want to have to rely on them every down. You know, maybe they could get by without getting an edge because it's going to be difficult to find. I mean, you can go get an edge guy right now out of the portal, but can he play? You know, is he worth even a scholarship? You know, that's the question. So Terrell Dawkins, I'm kind of got my eye on him. You know, as far as if you just people wanted to know one guy. You know, so KF says why is Westmoreland at DN? Because that's what he played in high school.
Right.
And they like depth there.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, I've loved what I've heard early about Lenoris Sellers. I feel like he's been talked about a lot. I mean, I know that's a hot name, but you know, it's more chatter about a true freshman quarterback that probably ain't going. I mean, you know, probably ain't going to play a lot this year, if at all. It's a lot more chatter than you'd normally hear about a guy like that. So I you know, very talented. Very talented.
6'3", 235, runs 4, was timed at 4.4 in practice.
Yeah. That's special.
And isn't just an athlete, can throw the ball. You know, just talking to some people that do evaluations, the rankings, recruiting rankings. And I don't like when people say this because it just kind of means they're trying to hold on for dear life to their maybe wrong evaluations they made 2 years ago. They said if he were in this coming class, he'd be top 5 player in the country and the number 1 quarterback. So if he'd have done what he did as a junior his senior year. So I think the Gamecocks got an absolute steal there, and we'll see how it evolves. But I don't think he'll play. I mean, unless something happens and he's forced into it. But you have a guy that big and that fast that can also throw the ball. If you're Dowell Loggins, you're going, my goodness, what all can we do here? You know?
Yeah, Spencer, who? Yeah, exactly. Sit your ass down, Spencer.
Yeah, that's right.
The shocker of the spring, dethroned.
To Chris's point, though, it is about every few years you get one in, and people remember the hoopla around Ryan, remember the hoopla around Steve. I mean, but who was there never any hoopla around as a freshman? Connor Shaw, Dylan Thompson. These guys turned out all right. You just don't know. You just don't know.
Yeah, you never know.
Just have to see.
All right, we're up against it, man. We got to roll. Chris, I'll see you later today.
JC, Phil, JB, always a pleasure. Appreciate you guys. And JC, we will talk this afternoon, my friends. Appreciate y'all. Have a good one.
Good luck in your bracket.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all. Y'all too. Appreciate it.
See you.
All right, we're going to have to hit like back-to-back breaks here, but we'll get this one out and then maybe do another one. This is Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want. If you're looking for a karaoke partner, I can tell you, I can't carry a tune in a bucket. But what I do have is a very specific set of skills. Hang up now, and your IT nightmares will continue. But stay on the line, and I will find you. And when I find you, I will fix it. Thanks. I think I have the wrong number. I'm trying to call Matt at Heritage Digital. He has a one price, low cost turnkey solution for all my IT needs. And I'm sick and tired of my IT guy. So yeah, 843-699-1001. This is 1002. Oh, well, thanks anyway. Don't be taken by some IT dude that talks a big game. Give Matt at Heritage Digital a call, 843-699-1001.
Gamecock Nation, JB here, and I'm here to tell you about my new favorite painting company, A Couple of Painters. These guys are the best. Gamecock fans and excellent painters, and by far the best and easiest quote I've received. They're licensed in both South Carolina and Georgia. They offer 10% off for military, repeat customers, or if you heard it on the show. Commercial and residential painting, deck, fence, and cabin staining, cabinet and furniture refinishing. They'll even remove popcorn ceilings and wallpaper, and they offer pressure washing. Find them on Facebook or call 803-522-6832. A Couple of Painters, proud partners of Inside the Gamecocks, the show. Golfers and wannabe golfers, former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor is now a full-time golf instructor in the Midlands of South Carolina. In-person golf lessons are held at the Country Club of Lexington. Half-hour, hour, on course 9 or 18 holes. And if you're outside of South Carolina, Meredith conducts virtual lessons. Just send in your golf swing for analysis. Gift cards are available for in-person 1-hour lessons. Connect on Twitter at Mayor Taylor and find her online at McKellarEnterprises.org. Her email is on the website. Schedule your next lesson today with Meredith Taylor, former Gamecock golfer.
You're tuned into Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Sideline is picked off. Brad Edwards will get a convoy. Touchdown, South Carolina.
Spurs, Spurs, Spurs. You ain't just a bird, bird, bird. You're top of the coop, star of the show. You're a rooster who was born to crow. Well, I bet you wonder when you win or lost a step or two. Fell down the pecking order, couldn't find.
Welcome back, everybody, to Inside the Gamecocks, the show, presented to you by Express On Rooms, live from the Cinerama of Columbia Studios. And, of course, the first hour of the show brought to you by Cindy Searfoss and the Coldwell Banker Kane Realty Team here in the Upstate, 864-414-5271 for all of those who are interested in moving to the upcountry. Get in touch with Cindy. She'll help you out.
I'll say this. We do have Patrick Davis coming up in 30 minutes or so, and JC's right here in just a minute or two. We do need to run back to break. That song that you just heard from Michael Haney called Born to Crow, just put that in the back of your mind for a little while. We'll you'll learn more about that in the future on our program. The Plunder on Polly's is coming up in July. If you play golf, you're going to want to play in this tournament. 2-person teams, 2 rounds of golf, one at True Blue, one at Caledonia. Those are excellent courses. It's part of travelingcountryclub.com, who, of course, tees up March Madness for us here on Inside the Gamecocks, the show, travelingcountryclub.com, where you could be a member for an incredibly low price every month and pay the lowest rates you could ever dream of paying at so many golf courses, over 40 of them in the Carolinas, both North Carolina and South Carolina. Make sure you check out that website, travelingcountryclub.com. The plunder on Polly's, this is posted on my Twitter account. I'm going to post it again. You can also find it at travelingcountryclub.com. This will sell out. It's probably going to be one of the coolest golf events in the whole state throughout the year with everything they got going on. They'll play Texas Scramble on day 1 and Best Ball on day 2. And there's just a lot of different things that you can win, including a cash pot that could be up to $12,000 depending on the number of players in the event. Up to $12,000. Yeah, you heard that right. So make sure you follow along if you play golf and you know somebody that can play. This is an event you're going to want to play in. The plunder on Polly's, part of our friends at travelingcountryclub.com.
Nice.
So we're at the top of the hour. We do have games, by the way, tipping off in about 15 minutes, which we will update you on as we move along. Only two games will tip while we're on the air, gentlemen. West Virginia and Maryland, and Furman and Virginia at 12:40. So
that
we'll make
sucks.
Yeah, you know Virginia is only a 5.5 point favorite in that game.
I've got Furman money line.
Yeah,
Furman money line, baby. Woo! Hammered the Paladins today.
Yeah. Yeah,
I did not, however, take Charleston.
You had what, Phil?
I said I did not take Charleston in that 12-5. I put San Diego State through.
Well, that's not a bad pick. San Diego State's a 5-point favorite in that game.
They look like a decent team.
Tell you what, though, man, Kelsey's got his guys ready to go. You almost wonder if they're going to be too fired up. They're going to have about 7 fouls in the first 30 seconds, maybe. He is a fiery
Virginia's upset prone, though. We all know that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not buying that ACC this year. Not buying
their entire athletic department
this year
is upset prone. So, anyway,
all right,
let's roll.
We'll hit a timeout. Hour 2 coming up.
What's up, Gamecock fans? This is Pitcher Noah Hall. If you want some delicious food for your event, I suggest visiting nanasporch.com today to find out what they all have to offer. It's really good Southern cuisine based out of Charlotte, my hometown. I hope you guys go check it out. Go Cox and go Nanas.
Are you looking to buy a new home? Kevin O'Connell with Union Home Mortgage is a local mortgage expert and Gamecocks fan servicing North and South Carolina. Whether you're buying a home, building your dream home with new construction, or turning your equity into cash, UHM's world-class service will ensure you find the perfect mortgage to achieve your home ownership goals. Call Kevin at 803-906-0244 or visit UHM.com today. Union Home Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS 2229, LONMLS 1772182.
Electric Bikes of Charleston offers the most fun you'll ever have on 2 wheels. The home of Oventon, Velotric, Magnum Bikes, and more, they sell to consumers all across the state and offer outstanding warranties and service after the sale. Their electric bikes are equipped with 5 levels of pedal assist plus a throttle, so you can ride longer, handle the heat better, but still get great exercise. Bikes are available for all ages and sizes. Visit electricbikescharleston.com or stop into their store in Mount Pleasant if you're in the Low Country. Electric Bikes of Charleston, powering Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Hot skillet with a little oil. The show goes on!
Welcome back, everybody, to Inside the Gamecocks, the show. I don't know if everybody else experienced the end of that break like I did, but did the sound go out for everybody else, or was that just me?
No, I heard the whole thing. And I was wondering where
good. That makes me feel better.
Wolf of Wall Street quote went, but I realized I put it in. That song has this break where it goes with a kind of a solo there. And I remember I put it inside of the solo and not at the solo. So there we go.
Yeah.
By the way, I was just making sure all kind of stuff was happening on my end. I was like, okay, let's just hope it's playing.
It feels like there's a ride. I'm going to Disney next week, so I got to mention this. The Muppet show ride or whatever at Hollywood Studios. It's old. It's funny though. Feels like the Swedish Chef in the back with the film. When you when they start going haywire. And then like there's two old guys, anyway. I fall asleep in that thing now because I've memorized the whole thing. It's like dark and time to take a nap. Anyway, by the way, Sean Walton asked where Clowney's going to the 76ers. JC, I know you love what the Bears did with that first pick. I'm pumped about it. Yeah, in Chicago, they were like, people were literally partying. I mean, I think people need an excuse to party around St. Patrick's Day in Chicago, but because of that trade. I mean, that's like one of the best things ever happened to the franchise because normally they screw things like that up. And to Sean's point, I think Clowney should go to the Bears because they kind of got DeMarcus. They kind of got DeMarcus Walker as their every down guy who had a resurgent career, I think, with the Titans. And so Clowney, though, could be for a team that needs pass rushers, though. Why Panthers? Because it's home.
What? Yeah,
because it's home.
Because it's home, and he gets to play in front of his hometown crowd, and he can come down to his little smoke shop whenever he wants to in Columbia. I mean, come on, man. Meet up at JD's Smoke Shop. I don't know.
Is that what it's called, JD's?
I have no idea what it's called.
Hayden Hurst is with the Panthers now. That news broke yesterday. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. You got Hayden Hurst and Shi Smith in the starting lineup on offense, and they played together at Carolina.
And you got Clowney on D
with J.C. Horn.
I forgot about J.C. Horn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Gilmore signed with the Cowboys, didn't he? So
yeah, he did. My man Bobby Harton probably drank an entire handle of Crown in celebration of that. He's a huge Cowboys fan, like a real Cowboys fan, not like some of these fans that like they drive around with like the Cowboys flags on their car, and then you're like, man, how are the Cowboys doing this year? They're all right, and you're like, so what's their record? I don't know.
They're annually among the most disappointing teams in pro football. Just because even when they're good, they get to the playoffs and don't win. I mean, it's just playoffs. Playoffs.
So, JC, Emily Adams with the Greenville News last night came out with the column detailing more of what happened with Gamecock football and the three players involved, Cameron Upshaw, Montague Rames, and Anthony Rose. So, and there's you and I were talking on the phone earlier this morning, and we got to be careful about how we say things because we don't know the entire story. I do believe, from what I've been told, there is, of course, more to the story as to like why the weapon or weapons were even there to begin with, which, again, everything I understand about this was it had nothing to do with basically think your worst thoughts, right? It had nothing to do with anything like that at all. As a matter of fact, it was just a really, really, really poor decision. You can't have them in there. They go over this stuff with you. But they did. And so anyways, when I was talking to you this morning about this before we got on the air, I mentioned, I think it will be important whenever that time is. Right now, these guys are probably zipped up and not able to say anything, to make sure that people understand that there was no ill intent while being in possession of these weapons. At the same time, they have to acknowledge that they broke laws. and broke school rules, and we're just going to have to kind of see how it all plays out here. But as that information kind of unfolded last night, based on what we know to be true publicly and what we've heard to be true privately, where are our thoughts today as far as the future of the forget football for a second? Okay, everybody, like, that's where this conversation continuously turns, and I see it and it drives me nuts. Oh, it's okay. If we could just get this guy back, the other two, dude, these are humans. I want to know what's going to happen with them. Forget the football thing for a second. Like, how has any of this kind of changed the way that we see it and think about it, or at least you?
I did notice. Okay, so Anthony Rose was not charged with illegal possession of a firearm. He was charged, but unfortunately, it's a felony what he was charged with. But it's not like he. Sometimes you have stolen guns that can get you in big trouble. Sometimes you have guns that you don't have a permit for. That's illegal and all that good stuff. I think the cover up probably made things worse. I think if they'd had it to do over again, they'd have probably just said, my bad, my mistake, or whatever. I think legally, just looking through, and there was some debate as to whether or not this stuff would qualify for pretrial intervention. I think as long as the records are clean, I think every one of them would probably be pretrial. I can't see the Fifth Circuit solicitor trying to nail these guys to the wall. That said, guns are a very political topic. Unfortunately, these days, it does seem like at times, whatever the, I guess the topic du jour is in the media, that sometimes influences, sometimes it doesn't. I hope that the Fifth Circuit solicitor is not trying to make an example out of somebody because, these guys were recreationally using a rifle and just happened to make a mistake of having it in their dorm. I do think too, there's a big difference when you talk about this law. If somebody walked through the state house with an AR-15 or walked to class with an AR-15 or something like that, there's a big difference between that and somebody having it in their residence when they have a permit for it. And yes, that is part of the university. That is a publicly owned building. That is against the rules, totally. And they did go over that. But I think that, it can be interpreted as an honest mistake if that's where you live. Well, this is my residence, so I have a permit. But it's not something that I'm excusing in any way. But I do think when you talk about, is this a mistake or was this intentional? I do think that the mistake was made with maybe you just don't think about that being, where you live being a public building, because who lives in a public building, right? Yeah. So I think that probably legally these guys are going to be fine. As long as people are kind of fair about it. Are they going to stay in school?
That's the question.
Don't know.
Yeah,
because the university's judicial process is a little bit different than
and you have to worry about what would come next, right? Because I don't this is just all my brain speculating, I have no idea, but Phil, if you let's say you quote unquote, let me just say this simply without trying to get too analytical here, like some people I know. Nobody on this screen, by the way. If you quote unquote let them off easy, the message you're sending to the rest of the student body is not necessarily a good one. Hey, if you're carrying on campus, which you're not allowed to, but if you get caught, it's okay. You'll just, you might be suspended for a few days, but it'll all be all right. Because it's how kids will hear it, right? It's how some people will hear it and see it. I'm a big Second Amendment guy. I can tell you right now, when I was in high school, we all had guns in our trucks and stuff. It was just normal. Why? Because a lot of us left there and went to hunt. A lot of them were in there from the weekend. I mean, I don't know. They just were. You never really thought about it. Now you have to think about it. So I don't know, Phil. I mean, I think the mistake they made was trying to hide it instead of just saying, "Yeah, it's ours, and here's why it's here, and let's just work through this and try to figure it out." They tried to hide it, throw things out the window, et cetera, and that just obviously just.
Yeah, I think that's really what I think is really going to bite them is going to be the obstruction charges. But to JC's point, hopefully these guys don't have prior records. Because it just still, I would imagine that the solicitor's office has, the ability to do some pretrial or at least get it down to, not so terribly heavy charges for them. But there again, that's only one half of the picture because the school is a completely different set of circumstances, and it would not surprise me to see the school throw the book at the kids when the state wouldn't.
Yeah, exactly. And I
think you're right.
No,
now I think what do I think is fair? Suspend them from school for a year or a semester. I don't think you need to permanently dismiss them, and I certainly, I think there's a happy medium to where. Okay, you obviously did something egregious. We're going to suspend you. Well, but you can come back, that kind of thing. Not that any of these guys probably will if they're suspended from school. I think Upshaw may not, but I think the other two are going to have options to go play somewhere as long as, it checks out. But, I don't know. We'll see sort of what happened. I think, unfortunately, Rose, because it was his, is in the hottest of waters. And I don't, South Carolina's pretty good player-wise in the defensive backfield, right? So I've said this before. Anthony Rose needs Carolina football worse than Carolina football needs Anthony Rose. And that's what's sad about it to me is that, this kid could end up, his life has not been the easiest. How about that? So
yeah. Well, and that's kind of how we led this conversation off. And again, I know we got to hit an early break here as we got Patrick Davis coming up at 12:30. And look, BRC makes a point. If Brandon Miller is still in the starting lineup for Alabama, there's no reason these guys should be kicked off the team. Which we'll have to have more time to really get into something like that. There's a point to be made there. Brandon Miller wasn't in a dorm room either. Now, was that weapon before? I don't know. There's just a lot to unpack and things like that because we just don't know all the details. But, I mean, JC, that's kind of how we led this conversation off with forget football, forget Twitter heroes and message board warriors that all they care about is the team that they pull for going to have enough players to play. Do we need to go back to the portal because this guy had a gun on campus? And how are we going to have enough defensive ends? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the kids themselves. And you just hit the nail on the head with Anthony Rose. If anybody has done their research on this young man, he's had it's been tough for him. And my understanding was there's no malice at all in anything. He just the guns were there and they tried to hide them. And JC, if you catch I have 2 4-year-olds, totally different thing here. But what I caught Riley the other day reaching for Hershey's Kisses. And I said, "What are you doing?" And she turned around and said, "Hershey, Dad, I'm trying to get Hershey's Kisses." I said, "Were you trying to sneak them?" "Yes, sir." "Well, I gave her one." "Well, I'm not saying if somebody would have walked in, well, what's the gun here?" "Well, I just want it." "Okay, I won't tell anybody." That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is if you try to hide it, it makes it just look a lot worse. And when that starts happening, law enforcement and all that type of stuff, like they don't know, right? They're just doing their job. Their job is to protect people. So, they come in and they're going, all they know is there's an AR-15 that somebody threw out a window, and we got to figure out what the hell this thing's here for, who's got it, where it's going, and the whole 9 yards, right? So there's just so much that nobody knew about, and I think that's where it went wrong. But, hopefully all these young men can, for the sake of their own lives, hopefully they can get it straightened out and see where it goes from there.
Hopefully. I'm fired up about I'll be fired up about all these guys no matter where they end up playing, as long as they're okay, just because like I said, thinking about it, you're a kid. I think these dudes know better. Like I said, than to walk through the State House with an AR-15, which is a public building, just like the dorm.
Yeah.
Or walk into class with an AR-15. I mean, yeah, or biology lab or wherever. Honest to God, if these guys were riding around because I read the law today, if these guys were riding around in their car down Sumter Street or on Clemson's, because Clemson's got a campus that in a public roads. Yes, it's all kind of. If they rode through Clemson's campus with it in the car, hanging in the back seat, strapped in or whatever, that's not against the law.
Yeah.
Because the law says it doesn't. Public roads and things like that don't count, but buildings and property and things like that too. So,
yeah,
pretty interesting.
Yeah, it is. And my final comments on this, and then Phil, you can take us to break, my man. Sonder makes an interesting point too. Again, we could have a 2-hour show on this. Not to get too technical, but Rames too. If he just walked off with the AR and not stuck it in his pants, it wouldn't carry the extra angle of being concealed. This matters in the eyes of the law. He's exactly right about that. The flip side of that is if you're just walking around with an AR-15 in your hand on campus, you got a big problem. Somebody's going to look over and, so, I mean, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. We're just going to have to continue to let the facts come out. And I just hope all these guys, I hope their future of their lives doesn't get totally thrown off track. Number one. Number two, based on, I mean, I don't know how much clearer Shane Beamer can be. He seems like he knows probably a little bit more than he's leading on, but what he knows is very bleak because he just continues to say, yeah, don't expect anything on this anytime soon, moving on. So we'll leave it there. All right, we are powered by Electric Bikes of Charleston. The weather has been chilly, and it sucked. What happened to the warm weather in February? JC stole it from us and threw it out the window. No pun intended there. But if you are looking forward to the weather warming up in the upstate, in the Midlands, or along the coast, these bikes can get through the sand. They can get up the mountains. They can get through the parks and the hills of the beautiful Midlands. ElectricBikesCharleston.com. People come from literally everywhere. Rock Hill, Hilton Head, Myrtle Beach, Greenville, Spartanburg, you name it. They come down here because of the quality of Vinton, Velotric, Magnum bikes, service, warranty. That's why they power our program up to 28 miles per hour. It's a do-it-all. You don't have to use this pedal assist mode. You can just go out there and ride your bike, but you can also use pedal assist mode as well, and it'll get you where you want to go up to 60 miles. You can ride almost to Columbia from the low country. Matter of fact, from Somerville, you get real close. And he's got to pedal the last couple of miles if you're headed to a ball game or something like that. ElectricBikesCharleston.com. Thank you to Michelle and her team for powering our program. Time out. We'll be right back.
If you're in the upstate of South Carolina and are in need of residential real estate services, Cindy Bass Searfoss of Caldwell Banker Kane is for you. Ask her about the village at Creekside, all of her listings. In my hometown of Spartanburg, South Carolina, right there on Daniel Morgan Avenue, married to a lifelong Gamecock fan, and many of our listeners have already bought homes from her and been 100% satisfied with the detail and care she uses. Cindy Searfoss, 864-414-5271, Caldwell Banker Kane in the upstate for your real estate needs.
Coach O here. And when I'm not eating average jambalaya or celebrating endless summer in Destin, I like to eat pimento cheese straight out the bucket. And the only pimento cheese I like to eat is from Nana's Porch. It's award-winning. It'll melt in your mouth. It's good on a cracker. It's good in a bowl. It's good on a piece of bread. Also, don't forget Nana's Porch has a hell of a food truck. It's award-winning as well, and they're here for all of your catering needs. So get online, nanasporch.com. It's good. Coach O signing off. Endless summer, go Tiger.
The preferred sign partner of Gamecock Athletics is Signorama Columbia, and they should be yours too. A full-service sign company that handles design, production, install, and service, Signorama Columbia has helped to bring to life the perfect vision for so many all across South Carolina. Owned and operated by proud Gamecock alumni, they can handle all types of signage, including interior and exterior, vehicle graphics, and more. Go to Signorama.com and find the West Columbia location, or call them at 803-407-9284. Bring your brand to life with Signorama Columbia, and go Gamecocks.
Hey, man, are you sick and tired of your business computer guy?
Yes, he takes forever to call me back and doesn't always respond to the requests.
Yeah, same here. I'm paying him good money. I constantly have issues, and I'm worried he's not backing up my network and securing it properly.
You know what, Phil? Let's ask Stone Blanton.
Hey, JC and Phil, if you want a solution to your IT problems, give Heritage Digital a call. Our boy Matt Odom has a low-cost, one-price solution that will get you running right. Call 843-699-1001 or heritagedigital.com and ask for Matt. He will hook you up today and tell them Stone sent you.
This is freshman All-American Nicky Memorial of the Carolina Gamecocks, and you are listening to The Show with JC and Phil.
Well,
welcome back to Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Okay, Phil, do you need a beer?
By the way,
I could use one actually.
Sonder, forgive me here. I've got to send this to Phil for him to do it. So it's a Section E, Phil, that I just sent you. I sent the wrong.
I got it. I'll put it up there now. That's what I was sitting here looking
Section
at.
E that I was reading. So maybe I was.
Here, we're posting laws in the chat box. This is never a good sign.
So that's what because that was. So there we go. That's what I was referring to, and maybe I'm wrong. I mean, maybe that's something else that I was just thinking of. That maybe I was misinterpreting that, but that's where I got it from, and I got it right off the state of South Carolina law, the State House website. So
yeah.
Anyway. Maybe I'll defer to everybody else who, Saunders says he loves the Second Amendment and all that good stuff. So that would do that. And Saunders for track and field, that Whittle would be the guy. Whittle's all over men's tennis because they're so good.
Yeah, number 2 in the country.
He did a good job with that. So, but right now though, with opening series of baseball, women's basketball happening, transfer portal in basketball, spring football. Be patient with old John because John's got a lot to do right now.
Yeah, and Jonathan
real busy.
Is only one man.
He gets busy. Whittle gets busy this time of year. So
you're talking about John Whittle. I thought you were talking about Mox. Jonathan Moxon is only.
I don't want your life. I don't want your life.
I got news for everybody. Good news. This is great news. West Virginia leads 11-4. With 14 minutes and 46 seconds to go in the first half. I have them winning that game.
I have West by God, Virginia, too.
That's what I get for picking freaking Maryland. Jeez.
I've got to win in the game.
See?
Well, that brings me to my next point. Don't smoke crack.
It ain't over yet.
Did you live under power lines as a kid?
11-4. That's right. Yeah, I got all my window licking picks in there. I got
Huggy Bear, unbelievable, Huggy Bear. Yeah. So
that is Greg chimes in on the award-winning. By the way, the award-winning Nana Sports chat box is fine. Hats off to our friend Coach O for being willing to record a spot for them in this program while he was enjoying endless summer in Destin, Florida, because that was very kind. And JC, if you'll just please send our thanks to him and
much obliged.
Appreciate that.
But Coach O's probably about 7 deep right now. I love March Madness. I love watching the basketball.
Without a shirt.
LSU was not that good, or Ole Miss.
I'm not even going to attempt his voice, but who wants to take their shirt off and go watch hoops with Coach O?
I already have my shirt off right now because it's endless summer. Even when it's 50 degrees because my nipples get hard.
Oh, God.
I show them off to the ladies in the summer.
And on that, let's go to
Greg.
We got Patrick.
We got Greg on line one. Yeah,
of the hour.
I got a plate full of average jambalaya and 6 cocktails, and we'll go West Virginia.
Coach O might also hire these guys because his belly has gotten rather large. LetMePaintSomething.com. A couple of painters in the state of South Carolina and in the great state of Georgia. Look at that beautiful logo. It's so awesome. Tristan Still and his team are special, man, and they have unbelievable prices everywhere in the state of South Carolina is where they'll go. LetMePaintSomething.com. Make sure you follow them on Facebook. They are spectacular people. Can't wait till they get in to paint our home. Looking forward to that. Everybody always asks, do you know a painter? We're telling you right now, the best painters are right here. A couple of painters, LetMePaintSomething.com. Greg went to Camden, he said, with Mr. Patrick Davis. That's good because he knows well that the Davis family is very, very special. PD will join us on the other side of this break right here on Inside the Gamecocks, the show. New Year and the days of being back in the pool and boat are quickly approaching. Many of us don't have the time to hit the gym, but Charleston Fitness Equipment can change that for you. Outfit your home with a treadmill, elliptical, or my favorite, a home rower that allows you to row with the pros all over the world. They have free weights, home gyms, flooring, and much more that makes keeping or getting in shape much more convenient. Located in Mount Pleasant, visit CharlestonFitnessEquipment.com for more. Get in shape like our Gamecocks. Charleston Fitness Equipment, proud partners of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Are you looking to buy a new home? Kevin O'Connell with Union Home Mortgage is a local mortgage expert and Gamecocks fan servicing North and South Carolina. Whether you're buying a home, building your dream home with new construction, or turning your equity into cash, UHM's world-class service will ensure you find the perfect mortgage to achieve your home ownership goals. Call Kevin at 803-906-0244 or visit UHM.com today. Union Home Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS 2229, LONMLS 1772182.
Daddy, I want you to take me to Disney World.
Calm down. JC is here. As y'all know, folks, the family and I have visited Disney World many times, but it can be overwhelming, especially if it's your first time going to the most magical place on earth. I highly recommend WhereThisRoadLeads.com and my friend Cherie, a certified Disney vacation planner. That's right, the mouse has given her permission to book your family vacation hassle-free. You don't know where to go, don't know where to stay, don't know where to eat, don't know what to do. It can be overwhelming. So get on WhereThisRoadLeads.com and schedule your free consultation right now. She can help you out. The prices are very reasonable. You don't pay any extra fees. In fact, she's much more reasonable maybe than booking it straight through Disney. So for your next Disney vacation, or, more likely your first, so you don't panic, go to WhereThisRoadLeads.com and talk to Cherie, certified Disney vacation planner, a partner of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
This is Braylon Wimmer, South Carolina Gamecock Baseball, and you are listening to Inside the Gamecocks, the show. Go Cox!
And I sing hallelujah, I do believe it's happening. We're almost to the top of the mountain. Yes, so brothers and sisters, lift your voices, clap your hands. We ain't far from the promised land. I said I'm from the front pew of a wooden white church, a courthouse clock that still don't work, where a man's word means everything, where moms and dads were high school flames who gave their children grandmother's maiden name. Yes, it may not sound like much, but it's where I'm from. Oh, there ain't nothing like her. She's a southern, one of a kind. in my dreams I still find her. She's like an old friend waiting when I close my eyes. And how lucky I am to call her mine. No, you'll never find another like my Carolina. Where does it go when you swear you know that it's all right there? An endless supply of milk and a honey, time and love, Friday night money, I wonder, where does it go? Yeah, I love the year 2001 and Bill Williams, Bryce Rock. Oh, what else can I say? Until my dying day, I'll be a South Carolina Gamecock. Yes, I will. Woo!
$12:34 on the opening day of March Madness here on Inside the Gamecocks, the show from the Signorama Studios. And there's the real man himself. It looks like he's ready to play us a tune, Mr. Patrick Davis from beautiful Nashville, Tennessee. What's
hey, boys.
up, man?
What's up, guys? I didn't get prepared for this very well. I don't even have my earbuds on, so this is just I'm just hanging out. What's up?
Hey,
sounds great, man. Look good. It's all right.
This is a sort of a wing it operation here. So
what are you doing? Are you writing a new song, or what are you doing?
No, I had a breakfast meeting, and breakfast meetings for musicians are. Can I cuss on here? You probably can't cuss inside the game.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just don't use the F word.
Don't
use the
F word. I almost did right then. I had to catch myself. Us musicians waking up early is difficult. So I had a breakfast meeting. So I'm just trying to figure out if I'm going to take a nap or what I'm going to do right now. It's 11:30 here. That's early for us. So, yeah.
Oh, I'm in Central too. I'm in Chicago, so yeah, I totally get that. That hour means a lot, man. It means I lived in Nashville the same way. I was like, man, it's early, everybody else is up, so it's crazy.
Yeah, and I just got back from Europe. I was in Europe for the past 2 weeks, so I'm still a little bit messed up time wise as well. So, but anyway, it's good to see you guys. I like this Inside the Gamecocks. I like it. Good job.
Nice. We're looking forward to seeing you next week, man. I cannot wait I haven't seen you since your wedding.
I know you were there. I saw some pictures. I was like, oh, these are behind the scenes pictures here.
Yeah, I didn't put some of them on there.
Yeah, well, the ones with your pants off. We didn't want those. Those, yeah.
Well, that wouldn't matter. You're not going to see anything in that photo.
They were small. They were small JPEGs. Yeah, they were. So
that was. I know you probably got tired of me texting you after yours and Lauren's wedding. Who, by the way, she was just flat gorgeous, but that was the coolest wedding ever.
Thanks, man.
And I know you were making fun of me because everybody was after the wedding, there's all this stuff going on, and I'm just sitting there with Ralph Friedgen watching Alabama, Tennessee. I had no idea what was going on behind me. Our first dance and all kinds of stuff, and we're not moving till this game ends.
Yeah. Well, we actually did they were trying to get us to do the I told the venue, I was like, hey guys, you're going to have to keep the televisions on like up until the moment that we're saying our vows. And then you're going to have to, as soon as we're done with that, I need these televisions back on. And they're like, what? And I was like, it's freaking Saturday in the South. There's no way that I picked the weekend specifically because it was an off weekend for South Carolina football. I was like, this was a well-planned, well-oiled machine here that we were trying to put in play. And that Alabama-Tennessee game, we were in Chattanooga. You can't not have that. We were 5 miles from Alabama. I was like, you can't not have that playing. And Lauren's dad was a little bit. He was so nervous to give his speech, and he's like, we need to get out there and do that speech. And I looked at him and I was like, his name's Brian. I go, Brian, you're going to have to wait. And if this game goes to overtime, then we're going to be about 30 minutes more before you talk. And he was like, okay. And it was so funny. The game gets over and everybody comes outside. I was watching it. I wasn't going out. I didn't care what he had to say. I was going to see what
You see, guys, this is how you do a wedding. This is it. You plan it around your off weekend. You leave the TVs on.
Yeah, it was awesome. That was a beautiful. It was, and Lauren was gorgeous. And she's the only thing, she must be blind. That's the only thing we could figure out with with me. But it's all works out pretty well, man. It was a good time. I'm glad you were there. And Ralph was so sweet to come up there because he was about to have I think he had knee replacement surgery or something like that coming up, and he still came up there. And and you're right, Jamie never left Ralph Friedgen's side basically the whole time. He was just like, "Will you talk? You're talking to me." It's like, hey, it's like that Will, it's like that Will Farley thing or whatever, or Chris Farley thing on Saturday Night Live when he met Paul McCartney. He was like, "Remember that time? You were the coach." That was cool.
So Fridge, he only lives like 5 doors down from my cousin on the Isle of Palms. We didn't even realize that. So
wow, look at that! You guys are basically just best friends.
Buddies. Yeah, it's awesome. When is Ralph Friedgen coming on the show, Jamie?
I guess we got to get him on. Yeah,
get Ralph on here, man.
Hey, Ralph's coming on. Ralph will be there on Saturday, next Friday night in Charleston. He's coming. They texted me. They'll be saying, "Hey, you can rekindle your love affair." Yeah, you go, "Hey, I'll put you guys at the same table as Ralph." Yeah. And then he'll just be like, and he's going to look at me. He's going to text me during the show and be like, "This shit again, Patrick?" Yeah. Wow. I'm kidding.
Well, Bobby and Kevin, my cousins, they're coming too, and they're their neighbors. You put us together, and this will be fine. They'll be out in the boat together all summer, and you're just a matchmaker.
I'm not sure if Ralph goes on a lot of boats, so I'm just going to throw that out there. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I hope he's doing better because
he's doing better. He's doing good. He got a hip replacement or something, knee replacement, something happened. I know that. Like, but he's still I mean, he's a good dude. He actually loves Coach Beamer. He's a big fan because him and his dad were friends. So yeah.
Well, he was telling me that, it's interesting. We'll move on to you, but what was interesting, I was telling Haney that night about when y'all all the dancing and all the music outside. I was telling Haney, he said, "So what were you and Fridge talking about?" I said, let me summarize it this way. We were just talking, he was telling me, Bill O'Brien, he basically brought him along. And so he was basically calling plays in the Alabama game. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about pro style offenses, this, that, and the other. JC, I mentioned this to you and Phil one time. Mm-hmm. And I said, so let me ask you a question, Coach. What do you think about the pro style offense that Carolina's running? He looks at me, he goes, "It's not pro style." I said, "Well, that's what Marcus Satterfield told us it was." He goes, "No, that's not a pro style offense." I was like, "So we have an offensive coordinator that runs a pro style offense that he thinks, but it's not a pro style offense?" He goes, "That's pretty much right." Hey, well, we're doomed. Of course, we ended up beating Tennessee, and
everybody, we're much better mood after that Tennessee game for sure. But yeah, he's Ralph is I think a offensive kind of genius. Even from his couch, he still calls people still call him for information and stuff. So yeah, but it's good to hear. He thinks that he had nothing but high praise about Shane being the coach, and he and his wife Gloria both were like, this is the right move for the University of South Carolina, and I think it has been, and hopefully it continues to be. So that's the idea. But anyway, hey, good to see y'all.
Well, so you're going to be here next week in my neck of the woods at the Riviera downtown, patrickdavismusic.com for the VIP tickets. And then, of course, there's a link there that'll take you to Ticketmaster or the Riviera and then to Ticketmaster for which there's not many of those tickets left. I looked and saw. And then the following week, you're back for your second annual Where I'm From event in beautiful Camden for the Cup, right?
Yeah, in the metropolis of Camden, South Carolina. I don't know if you guys ever been there. Big city, like Chicago, kind of like Chicago. That type of thing. And Camden many times. But yeah, we're but I get to go home and do that. And so actually for the next I'm actually going to Columbia Camden on next Wednesday, and I'm going to stay for 10 days. I'm going to be in God's country for a whole 10 days with the family and go see everybody. So I'm pretty excited. The Charleston show ought to be a blast because the Riviera Theater, I haven't actually been inside of it yet, but I was actually my buddy Jewel played there. I think that was the first show that happened there, and I've heard from a couple other people that it's a really great room. My buddy Mark Broussard actually played there last night. I don't know if you know Mark but Mark played there last night. They've only done maybe 10 shows there so far, but they renovated this old theater right downtown. I think it's right on Meeting King, somewhere in there.
King,
yeah. And it looks beautiful, so I'm excited about going in there and playing. I got my midnight choir, the big band, and then Camden's great. Camden, that is where I'm from, and that song's written about Camden. So the Carolina Cup, which all of us that grew up in South Carolina or in the area remember the Carolina Cup. That was or maybe you probably don't remember the Carolina Cup, but you were there.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's Cup weekend, and so the Friday night before the Cup is when we always do the Where I'm From event. So that's been a lot of fun as well. So I'm a couple weeks in the big city or big state of South Carolina, I guess.
So
Camden, a lot of people don't know this about Camden. Gosh, 1920s, there was there was some consideration to move the University of South Carolina to Camden.
Yep.
I'm sure you've heard that. They just didn't do it.
Should they?
I always thought that would have kind of been. If you're looking for a smaller town college feel, I would think Camden would be perfect for the University of South Carolina. But they left it in Columbia and probably wouldn't have it any other way, No,
it would have.
That's a neat thing about Camden, like maybe our audience wasn't aware of.
Yeah. Camden actually has a pretty crazy history. Like they're actually right now. The Arlington Cemetery folks came there because the actual first battles of the Revolutionary War were in Camden, and they didn't bury the soldiers right. It's not like very well known. I always say the reason that people don't know this stuff about the South when it comes to the Revolutionary War is because all the history books were written up in Philadelphia and New York. So where were they going to talk about? They were going to talk about the place up north, and so they that's where they printed them up there, And so, but they actually are coming down to do a special burial of those soldiers because they weren't buried properly. So they were just buried in shallow graves, And so, so there's a lot of history there in Camden, and the Carolina Cup is, that's kind of probably the reason they were thinking about moving it there was because Ann DuPont Scott and the DuPonts actually their summer home was in Camden, or I guess winter home was in Camden. So they came from up in Chicago and all these places. They came down there, so there was a lot of money there, and Camden kind of fell on some hard times, like a lot of small towns did for a minute, but it seems to a resurgence, and it's kind of like Gamecock football, like it went dormant for a while, and then we beat Tennessee, and shit happened. So we're all happy now.
Everything's good again, man.
Yeah. So I'll tell you a story. The first time I heard "Big Old Cock," and you'll probably get a kick out of this. It was 2009.
Yep.
I was literally walking into the Clemson, South Carolina game at Williams-Brice. Noon kickoff. CJ Spiller returns the opening kick. The Gamecocks came back and won 34-17.
Yep.
That day was the beginning of the 5-game winning streak.
It was. Yep.
So I've always thought there's something a little bit magical about that song, other than the fact me and my buddies used to just get up and start tailgating and blast it before the games, which I still do. Even fans of other schools love it, So I thought that was neat. I've always kind of appreciated that song for that reason, and just because I think it brought us a spell of good luck.
Right? Well, PD, tell us how that song even came to life.
Man, it's ridiculous. Like the song itself, like it just that was just I went to a Thursday night game. I've said this before, but it was the Ole Miss game when we remember Norwood got those sacks and we beat them like a drum. It was an amazing game, and I happened to come home from Nashville and watch that game. And I remember being in the stadium, and the stadium was rocking, and just being like, man, we need a song. As a songwriter, you're just kind of laughing. We come up with titles constantly, and I was like, we need a song. It would be something, but it can't be serious. It's got to be something fun. It's got to be something that a kid would sing, It's got to be something that sounds kind of silly. And when I was a kid, when I had a shirt that said, "You can't lick our cocks," I had that shirt. And I remember I was in Spanish class in the 9th grade, and Miss Smoke, our teacher, who said, "Come te llamas," that's what she was the worst Spanish teacher in the world. And she
like Peggy Hill.
It was pretty remarkable. Like my name is Russell Patrick Davis. That's my full name. Patrick in Spanish is Patricio. Very easy, very easy. And when I walked into class, she goes, "You're going to be Ricardo." And I was like, "Okay, so my name is Ricardo. Great. All right." So anyway, so I'll never forget her making me turn my shirt inside out because she thought the shirt was inappropriate. And so for me, it's always, that's kind of funny. And I was like, man, what would the name of this song be? And I just came up with, I was like, "Just a Big Old Cock." And I wrote it in about probably 30 minutes on my couch. I laughed the entire time. Sent it to a couple of my buddies. They were like, "You got to record it." I recorded it right at the end of 2009 season and just put it out there. The next thing I know, probably Haney and Jamie, whoever down there was playing it on the radio. And I was like, "What?" my mom was like, my mom called me. Was like, Patrick, I hear they're playing a song of yours on the radio. And I was like, yes, ma'am. And she was like, what's it called? I was like, Mom, that's not important, you know? And,
That's right.
but no, it still is great because I still get kids to this day. It's you know, I have a couple, this kid named Blake Weinbach that kind of works for my, he does merch for me and stuff when I'm down there, but he's a young musician. And, you know, his buddies, they all listen to Big Old Cock before the game. They turn it on in the morning and they listen to it all day. You know, it's like
I go about 5 or 6 times myself. I mean, I'm 46 years old, dude. I'm on the porch. My fiance is from Thailand originally and from Chicago. She has no idea what I'm. She said, "Why are you playing that? What's why are you? Let me do that. Why are you playing that? What is that? A cock thing? What does that mean? You know, I'm like, yeah, you wouldn't get it. You know, I mean, just like okay. So the brilliance of it is though, you go and you pulled it like what Gamecock fans always think because it's like I hate the Georgia Bulldogs. Florida Gators, but you don't say Tennessee, you say and Rocky Top. Because we all hate Rocky Top playing over and over the stadium. I just
well,
I don't know.
That's a soft rhyme. It could be a hard rhyme because the word is cock, but it's a rhyme with cock. You know, it works pretty well. So no,
what rhymes with cock?
Yeah, and I'll tell you, and this is actually the amazing thing about this. We did the show. Me and Edwin went down and did the show the night before the Gator Bowl game, or was that we played Gator Bowl? Whatever, Jacksonville. What is in Jacksonville? And so we go down there and play, and you know it's all Gamecock. You know, it's 1,000 Gamecocks fan at this show, and Edwin, and so Edwin does "I'll Be," and then I have to close the show out because we're just swapping songs. He does his last song is "I'll Be," and I'm last, and I have to do Big Old Cock, and I go. I'm going to let all of you folks know that when I wrote this silly ass song 10, 15 years ago, I never thought anyone would hear it. And I promise you, I did not think there was going to be a show where I played and I had to close out the show. The opening song to Big Old Cock was I'll Be by Edwin McCain. I was like, this is
who would have thought?
Fucking insane.
It's outrageous.
Insane.
Perfect.
I was like, and Edwin's probably sitting there, Edwin, old friends. I'm sure in the back of his mind, he's like, this dumb son of a bitch. You know, I can promise you that he's sitting there going like, they play I'll Be all over the planet. It's played in, you know, you go to Home Depot, you can't help but hear I'll Be, you know. I'm like, and I'm sitting there playing in a show where the last song I got to open up for Big Old Cock. This is great. So,
but that's a good point. I'll Be was, we just watched a movie that I'll Be was,
he got paid so much money. Edwin literally will never have to work again because of Jennifer Lopez. Like that's basically what happened. Yeah, he was like, dude, he's like, they just put me in a movie for this song, and then he showed me the trailer, and the whole trailer was I'll Be, the entire song, and then they sang it in the movie. And I mean, the movie's obviously a piece of shit. You can tell that. But like, here's the deal: terrible. I'll Be is wonderful. So you know, he got paid a lot of money, so I'm happy for him. So that's the dream. And hey, listen, and if Big Old Cock is in a movie, I will let you guys know, but it will probably not be on Netflix. If it's
I was about to say, it's going to be like, you know, MILF teachers. Something.
I
get it. Yeah, exactly. Well, so 76 in our chat box said, I enjoyed that "Where I'm From" song. So so Jason Michael Carroll had recorded that song, but that's your song. You wrote that song. Your version's better. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Well, will you be playing that song? I know you'll be playing Big Old Cock. Will you be playing "Where I'm From" next Friday night?
Oh yeah. I only, you know, of course. Although you know, the thing about me is, I've been fortunate enough to write so many songs. And the dream is that you have, you know, I laugh about Edwin, like to bring up I'll Be. Well, I'll Be, you know, he's gonna have to play that song for the rest of his life. And while you can kind of go, oh God, I got to play that song again. That's not the way we really think about it, because those are the songs that allow us to do what we do. We get paid. We get to have a job. And Big Old Cock is that way for me. I really only do Big Old Cock usually in South Carolina, because it makes the most sense. But like you were saying, JC, I have friends from all over that actually could care less about South Carolina sports, and they love that song. They'll even tell me, they're like, hey, will you play the Big Old Cock song? And I'm like, why? Yeah. I'm like, we're in Napa. I'm like, we're in California. What are you talking about? And they'll ask me, the Gamecock fans will love this. They'll ask me to describe to explain the choruses to them as I'm doing the song. So I'll be playing the song and I'll be like, okay, Steve Tannehill had a big mullet, kind of like Travis Tritt, like big, great quarterback, signed his name. And I'll be like, George Rogers won the Heisman, might have done some shit that we shouldn't talk about, but other than that, it's really cool. And, it's a lot of fun, like, cause they love, but anyway, as songwriters, we all want to do those songs that people keep asking for. And fortunately for me, where I'm from, or my Carolina, there's a lot of those songs that I've been fortunate enough to write, and there's nothing better than the feeling of knowing that people appreciate what we try to create art, and even and in some of it's Gamecock art, but it's still it's a great feeling to have people appreciate it. So
balancing I'll get back to this last question, I promise. Balancing the songwriter performer thing, because it's fascinating to me. I lived in Nashville, but it had nothing to do with music. But I kind of knew some people or whatever. And I know Michael Haney and all. So like Chris Stapleton, right? Chris Stapleton, people may not even know this, was a songwriter for 10 years.
Yeah.
And then found his niche performing. And next thing you know, he's doing the national anthem, which, by the way, I thought was one of the best national anthems I've ever heard.
Yeah. Well, Stapleton
how do you balance that? Or is there even a need for the balance? I mean, I don't.
Stapleton's super shy individual. He's not really the guy that's going to go out there and try to be famous, I guess, and so the writing thing kind of did work for him for a long time. And he was always an artist. Like Stapleton he did numerous albums before anybody, and some of them were like rock albums. He did like a heavy rock album. He did like a couple of albums that nobody knew about. And we kind of, within the inner circles of Nashville, kind of everybody knew Stapleton was the most talented of all of us in terms of just he could, like, we all play the Bluebird Cafe, right? The Bluebird's the world famous Bluebird. Well, Stapleton's got such a big voice that, the Bluebird's only about 80 seats. That's all the people that are in it. It's like playing in a living room. And usually you have a little microphone in front of you, and it's very quiet, but you still have to have a microphone because not everybody can hear you. Well, they actually had to move they didn't even give him a microphone. That's how loud his voice is.
Wow.
Like, Stapleton's one of those guys that we all knew how talented he was. And for about, you're right, for about a decade or so. The other thing was the landscape had to change, because Stapleton, in the world of pretty boys and kind of like, pop country that is kind of you got to think like the late 90s to like mid 2015, everybody that was on country radio was like this pretty boy that, Rascal Flatts or whatever, and so Stapleton didn't really fit into that thing. He's a big old burly human being, he looks like he could, it looks like he plays, offensive line for the Rams, he doesn't look like he's going to be singing the national anthem. But once he got out there and people saw it, but everyone always has to remember, Stapleton was out for about a year with a big album, and it sold maybe 100,000 copies in a year, which is not many albums. And then he went on and did the one of the award shows with Justin Timberlake. And when Timberlake did that award show, the only way that Timberlake would do it, because they've been asking him forever, Timberlake said, "I'll only do it with Chris Stapleton, and I have no time restraints." Because usually, you think about it, it's like it's like when you win an award at the Oscars and they like usher you off the stage. It's like, I don't know if you've ever seen the Chappelle Show thing where it wrap it up. Anyway, it always happens. And they told Timberlake said, "I will do this, but there's no time limit. I can do whatever I want." And so if you remember, it was like a 10 or 11 minute like thing of them singing, and the thing was, I think people were just like, who in the hell is this person singing with? Like, it was mind-blowing. And after that, from that moment on, Chris Stapleton became Chris Stapleton. And I know some of these things. My business manager is also Stapleton's business manager, and so we kind of we're not buddies or anything like that at all, but we kind of know a lot of the same world. And it's amazing to see how successful he's been, and it's very exciting for those of us who actually appreciate real music and want to see real songwriters and real talent. Because honestly, in Nashville, that's usually not what wins. It's usually the pretty girl or the pretty boy who just happened to be on The Voice or whatever, and she just does her thing. And you can like, I always say, there's 95%, 98% of the people in Nashville, they're interchangeable. If they died tomorrow in a plane crash, they just plug another person in after they do a memorial service, and then there'll be another person to take their chance, their spot. But Chris Stapleton, there ain't another Chris Stapleton. They can all try to be him, but they're just not. And so it's a really nice thing to happen. And I think the songwriting thing starts it, but there's always that artistry thing, and it's beautiful when that actually comes together. And that's kind of what I try to do. Trust me, I ain't ever singing like Chris Stapleton. You ain't never seen me do the national anthem at the Super Bowl, but that's okay. Maybe I'll do it at like the Gamecocks spring game.
Yeah, something like that. I think people go crazy. It'd be great.
Well, so Patrick, what's your inspiration, man, for putting together the Midnight Choir? Not to jump in front of anybody.
Yeah.
But, as a former band kid, I love it because you give the full rich sound behind you. What really moved you to put that together, man?
Man, I grew up listening to the big, like I loved Joe Cocker. I loved Van Morrison. I loved Ray Charles. And that's not a sound you really hear a lot now. And I also loved Lyle Lovett, who was a great songwriter. And I realized I kind of wanted to put that together when I had the ability to do it. And it's such an expensive endeavor. And I'm just being honest. It's so expensive when you have 10 or 12 people on stage, plus the people working, that are running the sound or all the other pieces of it. You really have to be in a fortuitous situation to make that work. And because of the songwriting, just like Stapleton, he didn't have to worry about it quite so much because the songwriting had kind of paid the bills for a long time. He'd made the money. And so for me personally, once I figured out, I was like, I want to be an artist. I don't want to just write songs anymore. And that only happened about 5 years ago, to be honest. I was kind of like, I want to start doing this for real. And I want this sound. And that's what the Midnight Choir is, because I love the horns. It's like Charlton Singleton from Charleston. Man. He'll be, Ranky Tanky just won their second Grammy. Charlton's in Ranky Tanky. He'll be there on next Friday in Charleston. And having those guys on stage, man, it's like surround yourself with people better than you. I think that's what's great about, I think Beamer's, and I'm going to go back to Gamecocks, but I'm serious. I think that Beamer has figured out, put people around you that are as passionate as you are, but that might be better than you are at certain things. And for Midnight Choir, everybody on that stage is better than me, but that's okay because it makes me want to be better. So, and I that's kind of my goal with what I do in everything in life. And with the Midnight Choir, I just want those people around me because I'm a fan. I'm literally a fan. When Charlton takes a solo, I'm like, holy shit, man. I don't even know what notes you just played. I know those notes are in my instrument, but I don't even know how you get to those. So, my dad plays guitar, and he plays with me in the Midnight Choir. We're in South Carolina, and it's just it's a family atmosphere, but I'm really just a fan. That's really the thing. That's kind of part of it. I just wanted that sound, and I'll never sing like Joe Cocker, which is probably means I'll live a little longer than he will, but he did. But but it's I still love that sound, and I hope that when people come to the show, they realize they're seeing something that is unique and different and kind of authentic. And because my songwriting, I could just sit up there with an acoustic guitar and play the songs, and that's fun. But it's more fun for me to have my guys up there and girls. So,
well, and it's and when I say this, I mean it wholeheartedly. It is your shows, and I know we're pretty much out of time here in the next couple of minutes because JC's got to jump on and do something else, but your shows are an experience, which is really neat because they separate themselves from everything else. I mean, obviously we all go to a bunch of shows. I mean, it's not like going to Eric Church. It's not like going to Hootie and the Blowfish. It's not like going to those things. It is a totally different experience. I was trying to explain this to my cousin Kelly yesterday because she's never seen you. She's going to be with us next week. And I was like, I just put it this way: the beginning of the show and the end of the show, you're going to be on separate spectrums.
Yeah, okay.
It just I don't know how to explain it. It's just what they do, and but the whole time it really is an experience. So for anybody that is thinking about going, you're going to see something different that you're going to enjoy. There's nobody, I've never talked to one person that's like, that was okay. Even Michael Flint. Oh man, what happened last night? I'm like, we ended up at Hall's and you were sleeping in the bed of your truck. I don't know what happened. Like, so, but that was thanks to you, man. So is Lauren coming too?
Yeah, Lauren, she's not. She'll probably get up and sing a song or two, but she's coming down with me. So yeah, she'll be there, and I'll get her up to sing a little bit, and yeah, it'll be a family affair. I think my little sister won't be there, but my dad's going to be there, and like I said, Charlton's going to be in the house, and a bunch of the Midnight Choir is made up of a few folks from Nashville, but most of the folks are South Carolina people. So it's all, and I think there's only one. We have one sad case, Xanda Bose, who's an amazing background singer who actually went to Clemson, and we give her shit for it pretty much the entire time we're on stage. And but other than that, it's all Gamecocks, and but it's a lot of fun, man, and I do look forward to it, and I look forward to playing on stage, always, but coming home, Charleston, Camden, those are pretty special spots to be, and I look forward to. I got a new album coming out this. It starts in about a month or so, or the singles start coming out, and so. I look forward to doing some of those songs and some of the old ones. So, and we'll do Big Old Cock for everybody. So don't worry.
Yeah, you answered one of my questions. I was going to ask you about the new album, and you better be careful because you're kind of digging your own grave with this whole Born to Crow thing with Haney. He's going to be the next Gamecock guy, and all of a sudden it's going to be like Patrick who? Patrick.
That's okay. I'll get I give Haney. I love me some Haney, man. He's a good cat,
Yes,
and he came to me and he was like, man, the boys are writing this another book and they need a song. And I was like, all right, well, Haney, you sit there on the back porch and we're going to write this song, And so we did, and
nailed
and
it.
that's it. And Born to Crow. Now we're trying to get him to write another. We're trying to get him to write another book. I'm like, why don't you write another book called Born to Crow? I wrote the title for you. It's easy. It's pretty fucking, or sorry, pretty simple.
That's all right.
Damn it. Sorry, guys. I got all the way to here.
That's all right.
That's all right.
PatrickDavisMusic.com. I'll let you finish in a second, JC. I just want to make sure I clearly get this in. For
He's out.
The VIP experience.
I think there's about 10 or 15 of those suckers left, and that's fun, man. We're going to do a rooftop thing up on top of the Riviera. They got a nice rooftop bar and stuff. There's going to be some food and some cocktails, and then we'll do some. I'll bring you cocktails? You'll be happy, and I'll make sure. And then I think you get a great seats, and then also there's posters and stuff like that. But the VIP stuff is fun for me because it's kind of like I get to hang with people. I really genuinely enjoy talking to people before. As you can tell, I've never shut up. So I appreciate talking to people and before the shows and stuff. So I hope if you want a little bit better experience, better seats, do that. And if not, just get the regular ones. It'll all be fine. I promise.
Yeah. Whiskey Jam. That is the unofficial drink of
you will have
Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Yeah. We'll get you some of that.
It is good stuff, man. I mean, so
I know. I've seen you drink. You don't drink though. That's the thing about you. Like you don't. Jamie, he stopped drinking, guys. About an hour ago, he said he's going to stop drinking.
I got the text.
Yeah. Well, we were leaving your the night before your wedding at the what's it called? Macklemore Club.
Yep.
And we were luckily Carrie was driving my truck, but we came. I didn't realize really how much I'd had, and we came out of that thing. That road down there, it's kind of scary at night if you've never driven it.
It's you're in the mount. You're in the mountains.
We were on the edge of a mountain. We weren't in the mountains. We were on the edge of a mountain, and then I was like, where are we? And she was like, what is wrong with you? I was like, dude, I have no idea what just happened in there. I don't know any of those people, but drinks just kept coming, and how do we get home? Where we stay? We were in a yurt. The wind was blowing all night. I couldn't sleep.
I appreciate that. I mean, I think what's funniest about the story is you're acting like that just happens at my wedding. Like that's basically almost every night. He's like, where are we? Like, what's going on? Like, where are my pants?
I only stay in yurts. I only stay in yurts at your wedding. That's it. I mean, outside of that, we're looking for a Holiday Inn Express or something. But all right, man. Looking forward to that again. PatrickDavisMusic.com. Thank you. I know we kept you forever today.
No, thanks, man. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll get y'all some tickets to maybe give y'all can giveaways. I don't know. Can y'all give away tickets on these things or things?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Maybe.
Sure.
We'll do. I mean, y'all can. I don't know if you do it now or do it next week or whenever you want to. You can give away. Yeah, do it next week, and that way you give away your tickets. Like Ralph told me, he texted me and said, "Hey, man, listen, I was wondering if you could."
I'm good.
No, I don't.
All right, guys. Hey, thank you guys. I'll see y'all later, man. I'm going to the studio. I actually am. I do have to work. Like I got to work too. Well, whatever. Work, music, whatever you call it. So good. All right, bye guys.
See you next week.
Thanks, Patrick.
Thanks, guys. Bye, y'all.
Patrick Davis Music.
That's a Hall of Fame interview right there.
That was.
I felt like we were like on Rockline, or like Sirius XM Country or some outlaw radio, outlaw country.
Well, the last time I actually drank Whiskey Jam, that was the point of that Friday night story, because I was doing fine until like me and Haney and I don't know who else. I didn't know anybody. We were just all of a sudden this whole box of Whiskey Jam showed up, and it was damn near gone by the time we left to go home. So it was Anyway, so
funny how that happens.
Yeah, but it is. Have y'all ever had Whiskey Jam?
I'm looking.
I don't drink liquor unless, like, I'm a few in and we have a shot or something. I'll have a shot every now and then, but I try to stay away from liquor. Y'all don't want me to drink liquor.
Oh, I love bourbon.
Well,
yeah, let's.
The blackberry Whiskey Jam is is easy. It's.
I bet
dangerous.
Nat would like it. Nat drinks vodka all the time, so it's fine. But I try to stay away from it. It's too much for me. So I quit drinking liquor at 19 or 2000. It's been a while. It's been a while.
19, man, taking us back.
It was in the 2000s. So anyway, well, we got to get off, guys, because we were 7 minutes over. But I think that interview was Hall of Fame worthy,
for sure,
and all that good stuff. But we'll see tomorrow. By the way, Virginia was up on Furman by about 7. Maryland came back. West Virginia, it's a tight game. The Mountaineers are up, I think, 4. Last time I looked at it.
Looks like Virginia's got a 2-point lead with 7 minutes to go here.
Maryland's up 32-30 at the half, so Maryland's back. So, by the way, I heard back from G.A. Mangus. Text him congratulations. He was at Hammond last year and Heathwood this year, and he's on the golf course. So,
tell him
that's my boy.
Tell him we said get his rear end in here as soon as he can. Maybe next week. No, you won't be here next week. We'll hold him till you get back.
Yeah, I'll text him. It's time to get him on again anyway. So, but anyway. All right, folks.
Appreciate everybody. Thanks to Patrick Davis, Chris Phillips, and the man behind Master Controls, Phil Monex. And of course, glad to have JC back. With that said, we'll return tomorrow at 11 a.m. Stuart Lake joins us to preview the Gamecocks and the Dogs. Plenty of March Madness to get into as well. We look forward to seeing you then on Inside the Gamecocks, the show from the Signorama Studios.